Hello, my beautiful flowers. Welcome back to my channel. Dr. April here with another video helping you to improve your mental health, your wellness, and your self-care. If you are a returning subscriber, hey girl, hey. If you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. This channel is dedicated to helping Black women navigate racism and workplace issues, how to be authentic at work as the only Black woman. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about some challenges that Black women face in the workplace. I'm also going to talk about some strategies for maintaining authenticity. And I'm going to share my personal testimony and also offer you some spiritual insight. Being the only Black woman in the room can feel isolating, scrutinizing, ostracizing, and tokenizing. But I found some powerful ways to help you embrace your authenticity in the workplace and thrive, okay? So stick around to the end of the video because I am going to share my secrets with you. Despite these challenges, it is important more than ever that you show up as unapologetically you and authentic in the workplace. How to be authentic at work as the only Black woman. So one of the issues that Black women face is the lack of diversity in the workplace. The lack of diversity, especially if you're the only one, makes things very challenging, right? You're more likely to experience microaggressions. You're more likely for people to look at you as the expert on all things Black. You're more likely to feel tokenized, right? Like, you know, I'm here because they needed to fill a quota. You know, I'm laughing, but ultimately that's a real thing, right? So, you know, the lack of diversity in the workplace really exasperates or makes Black women's experience in the workplace more challenging, okay? Another issue we're seeing is that Black women are less likely to occupy leadership roles. Did you know that Black women typically only occupy about 3% of leadership roles in the workplace? That's a big problem, right? So if you're used to your supervisors being white males, for example, and you're not seeing other women of color or Black women that look like you in leadership positions, this can cause challenges, especially when we talk about wanting to feel supported and wanting to advance in the workspace. You may not feel as comfortable talking to your white male supervisor about how you can advance and move forward and grow in the company, right? So lack of Black women in leadership roles is an issue. On top of that, another thing that we see that is a problem is that Black women are rarely promoted. Okay, so oftentimes Black women are skipped over for promotions. You may have been there longer, been there for years, and you see other people getting promoted, but it feels like they left you out, like they forgot about you, right? And so because Black women are rarely promoted, this can cause some frustration in the workplace. You can kind of feel like you're devalued, that you're unseen, that you're unheard, right? And so Black women are rarely promoted in the workplace. So in a recent article and a research study that looks at Black women in corporate, which that link will be in the description box, they actually found that 49% of Black women felt that their race and ethnicity hindered them from actually being promoted in the workplace, from getting a raise, and even the chance to get ahead. And this was in comparison to 3% of white women and 11% of all other women. And so, as you can see, Black women tend to feel that their race and their ethnicity can be a disadvantage in the workplace. Another issue that we see commonly in the workplace that Black women experience is the undermining of their skills or expertise, right? Typically, there is this lack of trust in your competency. You know, people do not tend to recognize that you got the award or you were promoted because of your expertise or skills. People tend to think that it's something outside of your control, or you were the teacher's pet, or that you did something strange to work your way up, right? So, you know, ultimately, we're seeing this undermining of Black women's skills and their expertise. And, you know, as a result, you know, there tends to be a mistrust in Black women's knowledge and capability and our intellectual capacity. So it's a really big problem in the workplace. All right. Another thing that Black women tend to experience is the stereotypes, the assumptions, and the preconceived notions, right, about who they are as a Black woman, right? In the workplace, Black women have to deal with some of the stereotypes that come with being associated as being a Black woman. For example, oftentimes Black women are viewed as being scary, as being strong, as being intimidating. Also, a lot of Black women get worried about being labeled the angry Black woman, right? So these are just some of the things that kind of come up in the workplace that make things very difficult for us. Another issue that we're seeing in the workplace among Black women is that there's a lack of support from leadership. So oftentimes Black women feel ostracized, they feel excluded, they feel alone in the workplace because they don't know where to turn for support. And typically what Black women do, at least in my research study, was that Black women started looking for support outside of the workplace because oftentimes in those spaces they do not feel supported. And so getting support and feeling valued and respected and needed from their supervisors is a big concern today. And then another issue that Black women are experiencing is workplace racial discrimination, right? So a lot of Black women, especially when you're the only one, experience a lot of microaggressions. Whether those are intentional or unintentional, Black women are highly susceptible and more at risk for experiencing microaggressions on a daily basis in the workplace. And then on top of that, Black women also have higher expectations compared to everyone else. People are expecting them to go above and beyond in the workplace. Oftentimes that involves them taking on extra work, staying late without being properly compensated. And on top of that, Black women are oftentimes expected to do more work than their counterparts. And so as a result, that leads to Black women experiencing burnout and compassion fatigue and being frustrated. And on top of that, that can lead to job dissatisfaction and definitely cause a decrease in retention among Black women. So another issue that Black women experience in the workplace is the lack of allies. So Black women do not have many safe spaces in the workplace where they can go, where they can fellowship and share their experiences, right? Oftentimes they're alone. Especially when you're the only Black person. It also creates this mistrust. You're not sure if you can trust your colleague with this information. You're not sure if you were to report, for example, the racism and discrimination you experience in the workplace, would Becky be there to support you, right? Would Mr. Tim be there to support you? So oftentimes Black women feel alone in the workplace. If you are resonating with any of the challenges that Black women experience in the workplace, I want you to hit that like button, sis. If there is something that you definitely identify with, when you're like, ooh, Dr. April, that happened to me, drop it in the comments. We want to hear from you, okay? All right, so getting on to the good stuff. So in this next part of the video, I'm going to share with you some strategies for maintaining authenticity in the workplace, okay? So the first thing that you are going to do, embrace your identity, okay? And so when I say embrace your identity, I'm referring to you showing up authentically and unapologetically you. Yes, ma'am, okay? So in order for you to do that, you've got to stop doing a few things. You've got to stop code switching, okay? You want to wear your natural hair when possible. I know some of us like to wear our wigs. We like to wear our hair straight. We like to get it pressed out and everything. And that's cool. It's fine and dandy. But don't be afraid to wear your natural hair sometimes, okay? Let them see the real you, all right? And also, I want you to wear clothes that make you feel comfortable. Don't feel like you have to put on a facade or wear clothing that doesn't resonate with you because you want to fit in, okay? Wear what you want to wear. I don't care if you full figure, got hips, got butt, you got it all, girl, you looking good, you in shape, you've been working out, whatever the case may be. I want you to wear clothes that work for you, that resonate with you. Stop trying to hide your shape. Okay, I know that it's challenging because a lot of times we are sexualized in the workplace, right? But I want you to wear whatever makes you comfortable, all right? If you showing up, one day you want to wear some bright colors or, maybe you want to wear some African attire to work. Don't be ashamed. Let your colleagues see every aspect and every part of you. And I also want to say this, you're allowed to be flexible with your identity. And what I mean by that is that we know as Black women, we don't show up to work as one person or as one being, right? Like There's multiple facets, multiple aspects of our identity of who we are, right? For me, for example, sometimes I like to get dressed up. I might want to put on a suit. Another time, girl, I might want to put on some khakis, put on a dress shirt, wear some flat sandals, right? And then there's other times where I might want to wear a beautiful dress with some heels. Like, you know, at the end of the day, I wear whatever makes me comfortable. I wear clothes that resonate with me and how I'm feeling in that day, in that moment. And so I think that it is very important and it's very safe for you to show up how you want to show up, okay? So wear clothes that resonate with you, girl. And another thing, in order for you to show up authentically, you have to own your background, right? You have to own where you came from, right? Started from the bottom, now we're here. Okay, anyway, so I said to say, like, you know, own your background, own where you're from, where you came from. Maybe you're a first generation college student. Maybe you're a first generation Black woman working in corporate America. Maybe you're a first generation Black woman in a leadership role. Okay, maybe you're one of the Black women in that 3% I talked about earlier, right? So at the end of the day, you know, you have to own your background and where you come from. Not just that, but you have to also own your culture. You know, own your history, your story. You know, if you have African ancestry that resonates with you, own that. Let it show up with you. You know, if you come from Chicago or you from Atlanta or you from Cali, wherever you from, you know, own that culture. Bring that unique aspect of yourself with you in the workplace. All right. And then also, you got to own your story. You have nothing to be ashamed of, sis. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Own your story. Right? Your story is a big part of who you are. You don't have to hide it. You don't have to cover it up. Whether you're a single mother, whether you grew up with one parent or your grandparents or no parents, whatever it is, you know, your story is unique to you. Your story is what makes you who you are today, right? And so you've got to feel confident and comfortable with sharing your story, your culture, your background. Your authenticity is unique to who you are. Right? God didn't make us all the same. You are uniquely you. You're the only you. And if you're so busy trying to play someone else, who's going to play you? Right? So at the end of the day, these are just some strategies to help you embrace your identity in the workplace, okay? Let's move on to our next strategy. So the second thing that you're going to do is set boundaries, okay? A lot of times setting boundaries really just involves you being able to say no when it's necessary, okay? So some of the things that you're going to stop doing so that you can set that boundary is that you're going to stop staying late, right? After the clock hits 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever time you get off, you clock out and you go home. You don't stay late at work. You don't take work home with you. The work will be there when you get back the next day. I promise. Okay. So stop staying late at work. You're going to stop also doing other people's job, right? So you're going to do your job and your job only. And this is another thing. When I talked about like you going home on time is you taking care of yourself, right? So go home and tend to you and what you need. You got to decompress. You got to rest. You got to relax after a long day of work, putting up with everything that you have to put up with. And also, in order for you to stop doing other people's job, you've got to really share some of the responsibilities, right? A lot of us are on teams where we're taking on the boatload, the majority of the work. No, ma'am. We need to share our responsibilities. We need to trust that other people can do their job just as effectively as we can do our own job. And also, I want you to stop working twice as hard as everyone else. It is important that you take time off of work. It is important that you are giving yourself a break. Because I don't know if some of you guys know this, but you working extra hard doesn't really get you anywhere, right? Have you been promoted? Have you gotten that raise? And so I don't know why there's this tendency to believe that if we just overwork, if we just push, if we just work a little bit harder, that somehow or another, you know, the thing that we've been wanting the most is going to just show up in the workplace for us, right? That is not always true, and that's not always the case, right? And so that's another like societal stereotype that we've got to break away from of trying to do and be it all in the workplace. We can't do that. And another thing, in order for you to set the boundary, don't be afraid to take a mental health day. Take a mental health day if you need it. Take some time for you. Make sure that you pour into yourself. Indulge in some self-care, okay? So don't be afraid to take time off when you need it. A lot of us have vacation time that's just piling up. We haven't used our vacation time. You haven't taken a day off, a week off, and God knows how long, okay? And some of y'all don't even take a break to go to your doctor's appointments. Don't take time off. So, we've got to do better, right? Because we can't continue to pour from an empty cup. We can't give out what we don't have. We can't pour out what we don't have to pour out, right? So ultimately, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing your self-care, your mental and your emotional well-being so that you can show up as your best self in the workplace. All right, so the third thing you're going to do to embrace your authenticity in the workplace is a support network. This is so important. So in the Black community, community support has been shown to have marvelous benefits for us, okay? We thrive off of support. We thrive off of community. So it is important that you are finding a safe space in the workplace, right? So whether that is some sister circles with other Black women or other women of color, just depending on who, the diversity makeup of your workspace, create a sister circle, a place where you guys can meet monthly or meet weekly, where you guys can share experiences, where you guys can discuss a plan that might help you guys alleviate some of the race-based stress that you're experiencing in the workplace, right? And then another thing, you might want to seeking support outside of the workplace. I know for a lot of us, the option to have support in the workplace, especially when you're the only Black woman, is very scarce. So if you know some other sisters that are in similar roles, y'all know that there are plenty of Facebook. Get in some of those Facebook groups. There are lots of Facebook groups like Black Women in Corporate, Black Women in Leadership, Black Women Professionals. There's, oh my gosh, Black Women Professors. Like there's plenty of groups that you can be getting into where you can build some community. Also, you might want to look on Meetup and just see if you can find any other sister circles there. But it's important. You have to find your tribe. It's important that you are able to share your experiences with other people who get it, right? And so you need some community support. Do not go out of it alone. In my recent research study, which is on the way to being published, that is one of the things that my participants share, that, going at it alone would have been detrimental. It wasn't helpful, right? But they found that building a positive support network beneficial to them surviving in the workplace, right? So I say that to say that you building a support network is critical to your survival in the workplace. All right. So if this is resonating with you, if any of these strategies are hitting home for you, if you're liking this content, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you do not miss out when I post more videos here helping you navigate issues in the workplace, okay? And also, if you are not following me on my socials, make sure you do. I am at The Wellness Room ATL on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. All right. So moving on to the next part of our video. So I'm going to talk about now my testimony, my personal story, girl. Now I'm going to share with you some pivotal moments in my career where my authenticity really made a difference in my career, okay? So for starters, let me tell y'all what I was doing wrong. First of all, let me just talk about my hair. Back when I was working school setting, many of y'all know I shared in previous videos, before I was in private practice and I had my own business, I worked in the school setting. Sometimes I worked in predominantly Black schools, and then other times I worked in predominantly white schools, right? So, completely two different experiences, by the way. But one of the things I was noticing, and even throughout like my graduate years as I was working on getting my master's and things, is that I really, even though I had locks, I was trying to hide my hair. I was ashamed of my edges looking nappy, looking curled up. And see, back then, edge control wasn't out yet, right? So, y'all, I was perming my edges, trying to lay them down, and oh my gosh, doing the most, like perming my edges, and I have locks. Like, girl, what you doing, right? That's a no-no. Do not do that. So, also when my hair was shorter, y'all, I would wear wigs over my locks. Like, I don't know what it was. It's like, I guess I was still trying to get adjusted to this like lock journey, and it really hadn't grown on me yet. So, I was just trying to hide my hair. And I think one day I just woke up, y'all, and said, I didn't care. I'm gonna wear my hair. I'm gonna embrace it. Listen, sometimes, y'all, I would come to work, my hair would be rolled up like this. People be looking at me crazy like, did you cut your hair? Oh my God, I love it. What did you do? And I'm like, I just rolled it up. Y'all know explaining to white people our hairstyles is a whole challenge in itself. Like, they don't know what I'm talking about, but they act so amazed. And then, of course, I dealt with the experiences where white people want to touch my hair. Like, girl, we're not touching my hair. What we doing? Like, no, ma'am. So anyway, I just think they're very fascinated by our hair because it's just beautiful. It's unique. They've never seen anything like it. But yeah, I was trying to hide my hair, y'all. So that's a no-no. Oh, yes, y'all. In the white settings where I work, I was code switching. I would turn on Mrs. Stephanie, okay? I'd be like, hi, how are y'all doing? Yeah, I'm so, like, no, we're not doing that. Like, this is Dr. April. This is April Brown. So the code switching was real. And I think for me, I didn't realize that I was doing it, I think what happened was a while ago, this is before I got on YouTube. I don't know what it was, but my sister had called me out on a video I was making. She was like, girl, why you sound like a white girl? I was like, I sound white? And I was like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't trying to, but we don't even realize that we're doing it. So we've got to be aware of that. And I'm not saying that, let's not confuse our ability to speak intellectually with code switching, right? Because we can speak intellectually and that come across as being white, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you're unintentionally or intentionally putting on this facade to blend in or to look more intelligent or to be to fit in, to fit in with your colleagues. That's what we do not want to do. Okay, so I was code switching, y'all. Another thing that really hindered me in the workplace was that I was just trying to do it all, y'all. I was trying to be the school counselor. I was trying to be the parent. I was just doing the most, like, and don't get me wrong, being a school counselor has a lot of responsibility. So I was kind of all over the place. But I said that to say where some of the things I was doing, I didn't have to do. And I wondered, like, why one of my colleagues, she had been a school counselor for several years at this point. She was just so laid back. And here I was always on 10. And I'll never forget it. One of my white colleagues gave me something for Christmas. And it was a picture. And guess what was on the picture, y'all? I was like, she trying to be funny. It said, slow down. So that became like my mantra in the workplace. Like, sometimes we just have to slow down. Like, why are you doing the most? You're not finna get paid more. In the school setting, you getting paid based on your years and your education. Girl, working extra hard, not finna get you an extra check. What are we doing? So, that was a big problem for me. I was just always moving, going, doing. And I was tired, y'all. And after 6 years of working in the school system, I experienced burnout and compassion fatigue. I left and basically, I just sat home for 8 months to figure out, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? Because this ain't it. I was so exhausted. And I didn't realize it. It was because of me trying to do and be everything at work. And as a result of that, I became very obsessed with my performance as well. Like, I got to work extra hard because, our performance evaluation is coming up. I got to make sure I get all 4 or 5 stars or whatever it was at the time. And, I just really was really focused on doing well, performing well, because I wanted to get that A, so to speak, that A++. And I always did, but at what cost? At what expense? Of being exhausted, of having to take time off. And I would say towards the end of my time in the school setting, I did take several mental health days where I stayed home because I needed to stay home. I needed to rest. I started going on little bit mini weekend vacations. I was gone. And thank God I had a really nice, compassionate principal because he wasn't looking for me. I'm so glad he wasn't looking for me because I was gone. And it was more than one of us in the setting. And then I worked at a Title I school. So we had we had more support. Like, we had a school-based therapist, we had the social worker child, we had the school psychologist. So we had some of everybody there to support if I wasn't there. But when I talk about some of the challenges, I think a pivotal moment for me was just, I just woke up one day and I was like, I just don't care. Like, I'm going to be me. And then when I think about just the foundation of the work that I do, like, I'm big on helping Black women, like, break away from societal norms and expectations. And then I knew that in order for me to do that, I had to do it for myself, right? So, I just made the choice to just show up unapologetically me. Now, don't get me wrong. That did take some spiritual growth. That did take me also getting in agreement and believing what God said about me. Also, it took me going to therapy as well. So it was a whole process, right? But I think a big part of me being able to get to that space where I felt comfortable being me. I think a big part of me just being able to fully embrace who I was just letting go of those societal norms and expectations, letting go of the societal assumptions and stereotypes and preconceived notions and ideas about Black women, because I know who I am. I don't care what society says about me, who they say I should be, what they say I should be doing. I kind of decided to define my own reality of who I am as a Black woman. And I think it's when you get to that place in that space where you can just show up as you and not care and just be you and all this authenticity. I think it makes folks in the workplace, yeah, they might feel some type of way. They always feel a little intimidated by us. But, at the end of the day, I think it's what's best. Like when you are yourself, when you be yourself, when you show up authentically you in the workplace, you kind of step on or dispel some of those myths and those stereotypes about us as Black women. So I don't know if that kind of summed up my testimony, but I'm saying this to say, y'all, I just started being me. I don't know what else to be but me. Just be you, girl. All right, so let's move on to the next part of the video, our spiritual insight. So our spiritual insight today comes from Psalms chapter 139, verse 14, and it reads, "Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it." When I think about this scripture, y'all, it tells me that God crafted us, that He made us, that He created us to be unique and authentically us. There's no one else like you, right? And so when I think about this scripture, it just speaks to just this responsibility to embrace who we are, who God created us to be. And, in another scripture, He talks about like how we're fearfully and we're wonderfully made, right? And so I think that, ultimately we have to start getting in agreement with what God says about us, right? How God sees us, how God views us, how God loves us. And, at the end of the day, I think that when we are trying our hardest to not be ourselves, we're criticizing God's work. We're criticizing His workmanship, His craftsmanship, right? And so God made you uniquely you. You're the only you on this entire planet in the world. And so I think that we just gotta start embracing who we are, as challenging as it might be. And I promise you, once you start embracing who God says you are, embracing the uniquely you that God created you to be, you will start to love yourself more. I think that's a really big part of just self-esteem building as well, is that you got to love yourself. You got to see yourself as whole, as uniquely crafted. You've got to see yourself as God sees you, so that you can really start embracing your true, authentic self. Okay? All right. And let's do a quick recap. So just as a reminder, being authentic is essential to your personal and professional growth. So don't forget the strategies for maintaining authenticity in the workplace. You have to embrace your identity, set boundaries, and build a support network. And remember, when you show up unapologetically you pave the way for another system. All right, so that is the end of our video today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. Also, don't forget to check out the resources in our description box. I have put several videos from our racial trauma series that I think will be very helpful, that connect with this video. One of those being a video on using assertive communication in the workplace, how to set boundaries in the workplace without being labeled the angry Black woman. There's another video on helping you to confront microaggressions in the workplace with confidence. And then lastly, there's a video to help you to, how to speak up at work and be heard. So there's the links to those 4 videos are in the description box, along with other resources you might find helpful. If you are having an issue in the workplace and you want some expert advice, you can book a workplace consultation with me as well. That link is also in the description box. And yes, if you have any experiences that you experienced in the workplace or anything that I said that stood out to you, please make sure that you drop a comment as well. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can continue to get videos about addressing workplace issues and workplace empowerment and, all those things, because that is what I'm here for. I am here to help you, sis. Okay? So with that being said, before you go, let me leave you with this. Remember that you are a beautiful flower that blooms and flourishes. May your radiant light continue to nurture those around you. And thank you so much for bringing beauty to our community, one petal at a time. Bye. Take care of yourself.